Well, it's Thursday, and you all know what that means. Well, today is a little different for everyone because originally I thought we are gonna have Impact Wrestling, but however, when I started watching it, they were just showing what took place took place at Bound for Glory. Now, I will speak a little bit about that at the end of this video to tell everybody what was going on that because there were certain important things that took place that was never aired after Bound for Glory. And of course, you may have seen them on social media. But we will focus right now on today's Thursday wrestling that we normally would. Um, as you know, we continue with more with New Japan Pro Wrestling's Super Junior Tag League. So there's going to be 5 matches. We're mainly going to focus on those 5 instead. We're not going to go with the full length of the show. But we also have, of course, um, MLW Fusion with Salina de la Renta actually producing. We only have 1 match, but it appears like she's building up the storylines that since she's now taking over or whatever she's doing. But we'll explain more about those. And finally, Ring of Honor. We have some interesting matches taking place. Of course, Athena and Billy Starks ended up in a tornado tag match. We do have a triple threat tag match and various other things. But we also got some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, any wrestlers that either been signed or leaving the promotions, injured wrestlers, the whole enchilada. So let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay, right here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of reviews on various wrestling promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere where wrestling is not as big, but it is growing. We also do some discussion videos, talk on various topics such as storylines, wrestlers, anything we can get our hands on, and we continue with more news updates and of course alert on the news updates that was been going on, various other cool things. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. If you like also this episode, please click like on the like episode or a nice comment down below. Now, uh, let's begin with our very first review. Now, as you know, we continue with more of the Super Junior Tag League. We're in day 4. Now, anything could change from here on out. As you know, we already begun the early stages, but we're not that far off until we get to Osaka for Power Struggle. Now, our first match we have the DKC versus along with Ryusuke Taguchi taking on the Jet Setters, Kushida and Kevin Knight. Now, I'm a bit biased in this particular match for various reasons. Of course, these guys, there's no beef with them, but however, they got to be more careful when it comes to Taguchi, since you guys know Taguchi likes to play little games with everybody, despite the fact that he likes to teabag people. So if I'm Kushida, I would be more careful with him. Same thing with Kevin Knight. But however, it was Kushida who picked up the win when he applied the hoverboard lock um, onto DKC to pick up the win. So right now, Jet Setters, in the other hand, gained 2 points with the total of 6 points. So basically, they got 3 wins and 1 loss. So right now, they're at the top of the lead from there. However, as for DKC and Taguchi, they only have 4 points with just 2 wins and 2 losses. Now, our next match, we have just 5 guys, Taka Michinoku and Doiki, take on Catch 2-2, Francisco Akira, and TJP. Now, keep in mind, the previous day, Catch 2-2 had an opportunity for a revenge against the Bullet Club War Dogs, more specifically, the traitor Maloney and Clark Connors. But the obvious question does tell, how will they bounce back from here on out? So that is one of the most reason things. You can say that they were able to pick up the momentum from here, and they were able to apply the Catch 2-2 onto Taka Michinoku, giving them the win. However, they only have, since gaining 2 points, they only have 4 points. So that means they only have 2 wins and 2 losses. However, Doiki and Taka, just 5 guys, they only have 0 points. So they're currently without any points at this point. Now, our next match, we have those despicable pricks, the House of Torture. We're talking about Kanemaru and Sho taking on Masushi and Yo. Now, I don't need to explain a whole lot about this match because you know, whenever the House of Torture are there, the other pricks are there. You know what I'm talking about. Evil, Yujiro Takahashi, Dick Togo. However, something really interesting took place. Now, if you guys know Kanemaru, he likes to bring a bottle of whiskey. So what happened is, he did bring the whiskey, but Sho grabbed it, took a chug at it. He tries to spit it out, but Sho actually stopped him. And then, of course, Yo shoved his mouth into his mouth to put all the alcohol in his mouth. Looks more like a kiss to me. And, of course, people were like, oh, my God, oh, my God. I'm like, I don't know if Yo was trying to drown him or whatever. But that wasn't enough because, of course, Kanemaru had to pull his own weight to do things on his own, while Sho was the one out of commission. But, however, it was Kanemaru who picked up the win by rolling up Yo. I don't know if the drunkenness had anything to do with it, but it did give Kanemaru House of Tortures 2 more points. So they currently have, right now, they're tied with Jet Setters with 6 points. Now, they are confident enough to believe they will win the entire thing. Well, last year they didn't, but even though Kanemaru was not involved. However, as for Musashi and Yo, they only still has 4 points with 2 wins and 2 losses. So we'll see what happens. We progress even further. Now, our next match, we have LIJ, Titan, and Bushi taking on the Bullet Club War Dogs. Now, here's the fascinating part. Naito showed up. For some apparent reason, he decided, I'm just going to watch the match from here. So he grabbed the chair, sit on the corner, just watching. He didn't need to do anything. He didn't need to get involved. He just needs to enjoy the match. However, I did mention that LIJ were facing off Maloney and Clark Connors, the Bullet Club War Dogs. Now, as you know, recently in the previous day, the Bullet Club War Dogs suffered their first loss, and that is, of course, losing to the Jet Setters. They're determined to win this tournament. However, I believe they were trying to plan to walk out as undefeated, but because of that, it did not happen. There's a lot of variables that came up in that match. I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point. But nonetheless, they of course, they're angry, they're pissed off with that loss. And of course, they probably will take their frustrations out on LIJ. But I have to say, LIJ did put up an effort to try to put a stop into the War Dogs, but however, that didn't do any good. They did apply the full clip onto Bushi, and it was, of course, Maloney that picked up the win. So, however, they are determined to walk out. So they also are tied with Jet Setters and House of Torture with 6 points. As for Bushi, they only have 2 points with only 3 losses and 1 win. So I may have reversed my judgment that LIJ may not win all the way. So yeah, but we'll see about that. Now, our main event, we have TMDK, Kosa Fujita and Robbie Eagles. They take on Wato and Despi. Of course, the odd couple, as we like to call them. You probably would have think that this match would be somewhat okay. How was this? As you know, the usual, because Despy, he doesn't like Watto or anything. He just doesn't want. He'll just tag with him. That's what. But he just told him to shut up and just follow his lead. Which, of course, I'm sure that they're willing to. He's willing to oblige that. But however, it was Despy on Fujita that picked up the win when he applied the Pinchy Loco, and it was over from there. So Watto and Despy walked away with 2 more points. That means they currently have 6 points, so they're right now tied with Jet Setters, House of Torture, and War Dogs. So that's going to be interesting to see. So there has to be a tiebreaker out of this one. So we'll see where this one leads from here on out. I think that's pretty much it with New Japan. Let's move on with MLW. Okay, MLW. Just to warn everybody, just to let everybody know, this is not an entire full show. Mostly, this is more like, how do I say, try to put Salina and De La Renta in charge. As you know, she always has devious things, if you are unfamiliarized with her, prior before she came back. First thing happened is Jesus Rodriguez, or as you know him back in WWE, Ricardo Rodriguez, Alberto Del Rio's announcer, announced Salina De La Renta. However, Ichiban made an interesting request to Salina De La Renta. His translator said that he would like to have a crack at Rocky Romero's CMLW World Historic welterweight title. However, the idea, she would say, okay, if you want that, then you have to go against Jesus Rodriguez. You probably can say that would be a fair choice. It felt too easy, in my opinion, because, Salina De La Renta always has a devious mind, however she wants to send her message. However, Ichiban did face Jesus Rodriguez, but he did walk away with the win with the Ichiban time. However, Ichiban was viciously ambushed from behind by Rocky and Janai Kai to ensure that he doesn't make it until their title match. Of course, it's typical Salina De La Renta to have her little lackeys to get involved. But we'll see what happens once that match happens. But speaking of Janai Kai, of course, as you know, Salina De La Renta was the one who thought of the idea of bring out to take out Delmi Exo. Of course, apparently Delmi Exo was basically asked by Salina to be her manager, but Delmi doesn't need her at all. So basically, this is more like, this is what you get for not taking my advice. So basically, that's what's going to happen between them. Now, while Salina was done with Delmi, she goes around the corner, meets up with Mr. Saint Laurent. Basically, he's saying that he wants one particular person from the World Title Federation for a shot of the world title. However, he said, I'll give you these files, the people you want to blackmail. And of course, I decide when the match will happen, anytime, anywhere, any place. And Salina was okay with the idea. So whatever she had devious, that was the whole story. And then, of course, outside, we see the members of Second Gear Crew having a good time. And then so the Renta appears like she still has some unfinished business with them. However, Jacob Fatu comes out and tells them, I have a better idea. Let's have a match between me and Mystico. I'm sure many of you would like to see that. And of course, Salina was like smiling, but she also said, be careful what you wish for. Now, the end of the show, it ended with, of course, it appears that Salina De La Renta has something up her sleeve, and that is involving the current MLW World Champion, Alex Kane. Now, I'm sure Alex Kane, I can picture him right now that him and the Bumaye Fight Club will start a fight against Salina De La Renta in every way possible. However, apparently Salina De La Renta's idea was for one of her picks to take him out at Fightline. And of course, Alex Kane agreed. And you're not going to believe who the opponent is, and that is none other than Jacob Fatu. Now, I was a bit more like, not shocked, but like, surprisingly decision. Now, many of you may ask me why. When Salina de la Renta came back, she still had unfinished business with Fatu before she disappeared. That's the one thing that we kind of question about that. But now it appears that maybe, just maybe, Selena decided, we'll put the past behind as long as you work for me. I'm thinking that's what the storyline is going for. But we'll just wait and see until we see what happen in the next couple of weeks. So as I said, it's not a full show. It wasn't. There was only one wrestling match, but basically, it's more like the storytelling of Salina de la Renta now that she's reestablishing herself in MLW. Not to mention, I'm sure Court Baeur is going to have a headache with her. You know, first Don King and now this. So we'll see what happens until then. So let's move on with Ring of Honor. Okay, Ring of Honor. Now it opened up with a little small video package from Angelico, who is not happy what happened last week. If you guys remember, his good buddy and teammate from Spanish Announce Project, Serpentico, got hurt. Now, basically, Angelico and Eddie Kingston go way back. So basically, this is more like, now this is more retribution for what happened to Serpentico, but he's determined, as you know, to dethrone Eddie Kingston from the Ring of Honor World Championship. So we'll see what happens. However, he is facing against the King of the Ropes, Metalik, in the match. Now you know his primary motivation will be to get his hands on Eddie Kingston, and of course that was the real play. But he was able to apply, of course, the Navarro lock onto Metalik, and he had no other choice but to tap. I'm sure Eddie Kingston is probably paying attention, but however, he has his hands full when he has to face Jay Lethal thanks to the dickwads costing him that match. But we'll see about it. Now, Lexington conducts an interview with Kyle Fletcher. As you know, he did have some interesting, memorable matches, but however, they did not pan out like he hoped for. I mean, with Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega, but he probably will try to find and redeem himself for those matches. So we will see. As you know, Kyle Fletcher is currently solo again. Mark Davis is out of action. I think this is the second time this has happened, but yes. So we'll see. Our next match, the Infantry, the Captain Sean Dean and Carly Bravo, along with Trish Adora, they take on the Hugh brothers, Terrence and Terrell, the sons of Devon Dudley. You probably can say this match was gonna fall in favor with the Infantry, and of course it did. Now I couldn't tell which of the one of the Hugh brothers got pinned because they applied the big camp right on him, and the Infantry picked up the win. Now our next interview with Lexi, she talks to Maria. As you know, Maria is proud of what she calls the baby boys, Cole Carter and Griff Garrison, picking up a good win last week. However, she was not interrupted, but surprised to see someone crawling back to her, and that is Layla Hirsch. Now remember, Layla Hirsch was advised not to challenge Athena for the women's world title. Layla Hirsch didn't listen, and look what happened. She lost. Then maybe Layla Hirsch was realized, yes, I was naive. But it's more like now that Maria has no intent of having her managing her because she didn't listen to her. Basically, her cocky attitude. I don't know what Layla Hirsch is planning to do now if Maria's not going to listen to her, but I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Layla Hirsch finds a way to get back or on her feet on that. So we'll see what happens. Now, our next match, we have Anthony Henry taking on Dalton Castle. Of course, you probably would say it was a pretty good match. I think it was a pretty good one between these two. Anthony Henry pulling out every stop that possible to take out Dalton Castle, but it was Dalton Castle that was able to apply the batarang to pick up the win. Now, Lexi conducts another interview, but this time with that dumbass weasel, Smart Mark Sterling, along with Nice and Woods. But of course, Ethan Page, who did not take kindly how the match was lost. The fact is, Tony Nese feels like, you're done. We're not. But I don't think Ethan Page is not done yet. He will get his hands on Tony needs to rectify that loss. So we'll see what happens until then. But I'm sure Josh Woods will definitely step up to deal with Ethan Page once and for all. But I'm sure Ethan Page has something up his sleeve. Now, our next match is a tornado tag team match between Mercedes Martinez and Diamante taking on Athena and Billy Starks. Now, the last couple of weeks, we've been seeing Martinez and Diamante targeting Athena. But however, they've been trying to convince Billy Starks that she is not someone you should be rolling with. Basically, they're trying to tell her she's not the person you want to be around with. However, Billy will do anything to please Athena, but the match was so intense. However, Billy was the one who suffered the loss when she got powerbombed by Martinez and then got pinfall. But later on, of course, another meeting with the Minion Empowered meeting, Athena was not too pleased with the loss. Of course, she made Billy Starks cry. We'll see what happens until then. Now, Kyle Fletcher, his match was against, of course, Willie Mack. I thought it was a pretty good match. I mean, Willie Mack, we all seen what a fantastic wrestler is. I've seen him one time wrestling in person. But yeah, you probably can say that this would give a little bit of momentum for Kyle Fletcher to rectify the losses he had with Danielson and Omega. But it was, of course, the Hammerlock power driver that sealed the deal for him to walk away with the win. But yes, I think it was a pretty good one. Not the best, but a good one. Now, our next match is a four-corner survival match. We have Slim J versus Gringo Loco versus Blake Christian versus Gravity. Now, this, I have to say, it was a pretty impressive match. I mean, all these guys can do, or will probably throw in a lot, excuse me, a lot of high spots in this match. You probably can guess that's how it's going to be. However, I was thinking who could walk away. I thought maybe Gringo Loco could walk away with the win, but no, he pulled off the Gringo bomb onto Slim J, and of course, Christian got in the way. Then later, Gravity was the one who picked up the win when he pinned Slim J. So, fantastic. I'm sure many people have high hopes for Gravity, not because he's a wrestler, due to the fact that, you know, people know, oh, he is the brother of Bandito, but I'm sure Gravity will be his own person to make his own, how do I say this, his own path, and that's something we're definitely going to be paying attention to. So let's move on to the next one. We do have Layla Hirsch versus Nyx. I can tell you this match ended with, of course, the arm bar by Layla Hirsch. So I'm sure that, suffering that loss against Athena will definitely try to put her back on the map in every way possible. Next match, we have Lee Moriarty versus Darius Martin. Now, this was also a good match. I think it was fantastic. But however, freaking Shane Taylor got knocked out Darius Martin. And then, of course, Lee Moriarty put him in the Border City stretch. He was already out. So there was no point, for that. But that's what happened. Of course, Lee Moriarty, being the prick that he is, he decided to not let go. So, yes. Next match, we have Robin Renegade along with her sister Charlotte taking on Rachel Ellering. Yes, glad to see that she's back. A pretty good match, but it was, of course, Rachel that walked away with the win when she applied a a sidewalk slam or whatever it was. But fantastic, just like that. Now our main event is a it's a triple threat tag team match. We have the Gates of Agony, Bishop Khan, Tail Leona versus who was it? Oh yeah, the Iron Savages, Bronson and Boulder, along with Jack Jameson, and of course the Baby Boys, Cole Carter and Griff Garrison. I have to say, what a good match in my opinion to see Griff Garrison and Cole Carter are determined to, climb up the ranks. But however, of course, the Gates of Agony, their primary motivation right now is the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. And of course, Cole Carter suffered the fate of the Open the Gate, and it was over right from there. So I'm sure the Gates of Agony would definitely be calling out better than you, baby, into this. So we'll see what happens until then. But right now, let's move on to our last and final thing, which is news updates. Okay, welcome to our news update. So let's begin with the GCW stuff because a lot of things were announced. Now, as you know, we're close to November, and of course, they already began with stuff from that. As you know, November 3rd, they will be in, I forgot what city, but they announced for the Please Buddy show, Los Macizos, along with Jimmy Lloyd, will be in action to take on um, the Second Gear Rejects. More consistent members of the Second Gear crew will team up with John Wayne Murdoch. So that's going to be a crazy match. Now, the following day for the CO No match, Maki Death Bussy, Bussy, Effie, and Ali will be teaming up with Maki Ito to take on Young, Dumb, and Bro. So that's going to be interesting to see. Now, uh, also, we have the Seattle show going and going. Rina Yamashita will be involved in that one. That particular show will be on the 17th of November. Now, as you know, we already announced the first participant for the Nick Gage Invitational. I did mention Risa Serra, or as she's dubbed, the Deathmatch Ghost of Hiroshima, is involved. However, 3 more names have been announced for that Invitational. Entry number 2, we have Daiju Wakamura, who's going to be involved. Then there's Emerson Jane. I believe she's from Eve. And then finally, Jacob Fatu. So that's going to be crazy. But yeah, I think I'm looking forward to that. Now, as you know, Tokyo Sports conducted an interview with Suwama, and one of the most interesting subjects was about Evolution Girls Chi-Chi. Now, as you guys remember, not too long ago, back on the 18th, Chi-Chi had her first one ever. So apparently at Suwama, who is in fact her teacher, her instructor, he is like a proud father seeing one of his girls, pick up a very good win. And of course, he said that they're stepping in the new frontier for Chi-Chi, but also saying that her character is more important anyway. So he's now saying that maybe Chi-Chi could be like the top of the subject in Evolution. So we will see what happens until that. But we do high hopes for her as well if you're fans of the Yoshi wrestling scene. However, now speaking of Evolution Girls, Zones and Chi-Chi will be traveling along with Suri and what's her name? Oh yeah, and Tomoka Inaba to Shanghai, China to participate in these martial arts events this weekend. So that's kind of interesting to hear, but we'll see. Now, Tokyo Sports conducted an interview with none other than Shingo Takagi. Shingo Takagi spoken about having a match with Kenny Omega. He feels that this is a match that is definitely needed. And of course, Omega expresses the same thing. So, do you guys believe? Do you guys want to see Kenny Omega's versus Shingo Takagi? I have to say, we definitely got to see it. I don't care if it's in AEW or New Japan or in outer space or at Atlantis. I don't care. Make it happen. Now, Lucha Blog found an interview that was tweeted this about, of course, wrestling, the Wrestling Observer, about a little something that took place. Now, if you guys remember clearly, last week on Rampage, we saw Mystico be in the match. Now, as you know, AEW has a partnership with, they work with AAA. However, things about, as you know, Mystico, he's from the rival promotion. So that kind of puts it out like, okay, what's going on? However, this is what Lucha Blog actually posted. Let me pull it up on my phone real quick. Here it is. Yes. So this is what what happened. This thing happened on Wednesday, where Rocky says that wrestlers can appear in AEW, just not in the same matches or same television show as AAA wrestlers. So that means, in a perspective, that, let's say, for example, that none of that CML wrestlers and AAA wrestlers can be in the same television show, but not in the same matches, or try to separate them. I mean, it's kind of interesting because, of course, because of the rivalry. There's been a rivalry between those two companies for a long time, since they first well established. So we'll see what happens until here and out. Let's move on. Okay. Oh yeah. Now, if you guys remember earlier this year, during at the time for the Great Muda's final Bye Bye show, we had our very first Joshi wrestlers making their appearance in Noah. Now, that particular match features Jungle Kiona, Sada Oedo Noi, Maya Yuhiki, and Surumi Natsu. Now, during a post-match comments, Jungle Kiona says that if New Japan was going to have the IWGP Women's Championship, then Noah should have a GHC Women's Championship. That put out a buzz on everybody. However, recently, Naomichi Marufuji talked about this. He's saying that there have been a lot of fans that are interested in that. They said they love the idea of seeing Yoshi wrestlers in their promotion. However, another recent talks with the director of Pro Wrestling Noah, Arihiro Takeda, talked about the future recruitments of Yoshi wrestlers establishing a GHC championship. So this is what happened. Here's the question. What do you think about the future appointment of female fighters establishing a new women's championship? This is what he had to say. This is still a challenge, and just like the dojo theory I mentioned earlier, we have reached the point where we can bring new female athletes into the dojo and train them. Currently, about 40% of our video streaming users are overseas, but if you look at it from a global perspective, you might think, why does any promotion have any female wrestlers? At WWE level, you may think, why do they don't they have female referees? We're living in such an era. We're doing it as a challenge. However, I've been thinking lately that female wrestlers really get audience exciting. The other day in Shinjuku, I think we would normally be a lot of fans who come to see female wrestlers after the match card announced, but at time our 4 female wrestlers wrestling without announcement, I think everyone at the venue was a Noah fan, but they were still excited. So I think the potential is there. This is also what he says. What do you think about establishing a new women's championship? However, based on the theory of Noah's promotional dealings with male wrestlers, I think that women's titles would not be very exciting unless there are many female who belong to Noah as possible. I guess the different idea of licensing out lend to GHC name to some promotion. Isn't the case with the IWGP Women's Championship? It doesn't feel like a New Japan Pro Wrestling that's doing. It's done by Stardom, New Japan, and overseas. It would be even better if they could create a new sense of value in terms of rebranding them in the new fans. So what he's talking about is that he knows the potential of having women's wrestlers in Noah. That is no secret. But however, he has a different opinion towards the women's championship. And I think he's right. We haven't been seeing so much about the IWGP Women's Championship defended a whole lot. So I think that's something that Noah is observing. He's saying, you guys are not establishing a whole lot about that. So he's saying that they need to have more permanent women in Noah to represent that. But he's also aware that they don't have women's in wrestling. This is something that's been talked about. But I have to say, this is a pretty good talk, and I feel this is a subject that needs to be repeated over and over. So, all right, now let's move on to our next one. As you know, there was talk about CM Punk. This was reported about him appearing in Survivor Series and for WWE. However, there was a bit of a this is what CM Punk had to say about would he perform in W again. He says, "I don't want to burst anybody's bubbles. I'm just kind of sitting at home and enjoying this beautiful Chicago weather. I have an injury in the family. My dog Larry blew his dog ACL. I'm literally just spending time with him. I know that sounds crazy, but he is my son and I take care of him and treat him so much." So, of course, but of course, the obvious question is, will he be in Survivor Series? And he says, or attending, or whatever. They said they're asking if I'm going to be there. I think it's sold out. I think tickets are, you know, what do I say, hard to get. So we don't know. That's a slim chance, we can say. Now, Dave Meltzer, on the other hand, discussed about NXT that Roxanne Perez should be moved to the main roster, and he had this to say. So bear with me. Roxanne Perez really needs to be in the main roster. The thing is, it's funny because Nick Khan has said this that they need a younger on the main roster, and they do. Let me pause right there. He's not wrong about that because Roxanne Perez is 21 years old, almost 22. So yes, I agree with that. Perez is the perfect example because she's 21. She just turned 20. She turns 22 on November 5th. They need people on that age in the main roster. A lot of time, the excuse is they're not ready. But historically, younger people draw. The, um, the, they have a very few people aged 21 and they're ready. She's completely ready and she can go in with anyone. She got charisma. She's been with NXT for long enough. There's no point in being in NXT. Um, I have to say, I feel like she has accomplished a lot in NXT. I mean, women's tag team champions, NXT women's champion. So she should be moving her way to the main roster right now. But of course, whatever reason, it's what's holding her back. But we'll see where it takes place. But I may ask you guys, do you agree with Dave Meltzer? Does Roxanne Perez should be moved to the main roster? If you say yes, then you know that she's gonna do a lot of great things there. So we'll see what happens from here on out. And I think that's pretty much it with our news update. So let's just call it a day. Okay, so I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Before I proceed anything else, let me explain what happened in Impact Wrestling. When I was watching it, they were mostly like showing clips or highlights of Bound for Glory, more specific the matches like Mike Bailey versus Will Ospreay, the Impact Wrestling World Championship match, and so on and so on. And however, they did show the clips for the two inductees for the Impact Hall of Fame. We're talking about Tracy Brooks and Mike Tenay, who is also accepting the award on behalf of his late friend and co-commentator Don West. Very emotional. However, the one thing that was interesting is to see Mike Tenay. As you know, Mike Tenay, we remember him back from WCW's, but when TNA was established, Mike Tenay and Don West were the original voices of TNA, and of course, they decided to pass the torch to the new age, and that is, of course, Matthew Renroll and Tom, who are the current commentators of Impact Wrestling. And I know that there's going to be some big shoes to fill, but however, I'm sure Matthew Renroll and Tom will do a fantastic job. They're not Mike or Don, but I'm sure we're going to have a great time with those guys. But yes, coming up, as you know, we do have Friday with AEW Rampage and NXT Level Up. I haven't decided yet But we do have the upcoming Unagi Sayaka watch taking place. I'll be doing that soon as possible. But as of right now, we'll just end it right there. I will be doing a podcast episode real soon. I'm like already haven't been done it for almost 2 weeks due to some circumstances, but we'll see what happens. But for now, I'll see you guys on the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.